Thanks for taking the time to download this BBC Radio 5 Live podcast. To search for other podcasts you might like, click bbc.co.uk/5live, where you'll also find our terms of use.
Hello and welcome to Extra Edition, our podcast of Afternoon Edition. Today we are Guestorama. Are we not, Daniel?
Yes, it is a guest fest. And this is our last little podcast of the year because we're off 5 Live for a couple of weeks. I'm still doing football focusy and sporty
Here we
things,
go. Here's where Dan says about him carrying on working while I go off on holiday.
Nothing wrong with having your feet up. You know, you've got a young family to look after. But
I will.
Someone's got to keep the world turning.
You've got to keep earning a crust for us.
We'll be back at the start of January, but Sam and Colin will be on Afternoon Edition next week. Mm-hmm. But we had some great guests on our last show before Christmas. Yeah, Robbie Rogers, who was... we still introduce him as the first openly gay footballer, but he's got so much more to talk about and some fantastically interesting stuff about football in America, about FIFA, about the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. So have a good listen. This is... What do you want to say? Sorry,
I just wanted to say, and it's really interesting as well, and sad, but him talking about going on his first date at the age of 25.
Yeah, have a listen. This is Robbie Rogers.
Robbie, thanks very much for being on 5 Live with us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
You are one of only 2 openly gay professional footballers in the world. So writing a book is clearly a very conscious decision to make the issue and your personal life very high profile.
Yeah. I mean, it was a tough decision. It was a tough decision to come out and then to be public about it. So definitely not easy, but I realized, I didn't have any role models growing up and I didn't have anyone to look up to and anyone to kind of make my career after. So I thought it might help people.
How did you come to the decision?
Of coming out or of writing the book?
Of coming out.
I when I was younger, I dreamed of being a footballer and dreamed of playing for the national team and going to the Olympics. And when all those things happened, I wasn't happy. And so I had to really ask myself, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to change my life so that I can be happy? And I realized I was gay when I was about, 13, 14 years old, but tried to hide it with football. And when all those things happened and I wasn't happy, I realized I had to make a change. Life's too short to just always be depressed. So I didn't want to be one of those people that just regretted their whole life.
You spoke to 5 Live last year, Robbie, and you said you believed it wouldn't be too long before a Premier League player or an SBL footballer followed your lead. We had the story of Thomas Hitzlsperger, didn't we? Yeah. But only after he had retired. Did it disappoint you that he'd done it after retirement?
No, it doesn't disappoint me when anyone decides to come out or not come out. Of course, it's frustrating. You when you see it, what you see and you feel what the other side's like, when you're out and you're enjoying yourself and enjoying your career and your family can be part of your life, you hope that can be everyone else's life or that other people will kind of take that step. So yeah, it's frustrating, but not disappointing in anyone.
Why did you wait until you left for LA Galaxy to come out? Yeah,
so I came out, I was going to retire. But
you were at Leeds, and just remind us what happened.
Yeah, so I was at Leeds and I was talking to my agent and, told him about everything I was going through. And, I asked him to kind of just tell Leeds that I was going to retire because that's what I was going to do. So it was about, 3 weeks after I retired from Leeds or maybe even longer than that. I wasn't planning on playing. I posted this letter and came out to the public. And, I wasn't going to even go back to the Galaxy. I had no plans of playing. I was accepted to London College of Fashion. I was going to go back to school and just start my life over. But it was really the reaction I received from people and the support that I received from all my former teammates from all around the world that made me realize that, it'd make a stronger impact if I just was on the field. I wouldn't have to talk about it or I wouldn't have to do interviews or go to events. But if I was on the field, then I think that would send a strong message.
Yeah. Well, now that you are out, though, Robbie, do you wish that you'd done it earlier? Do you have any regrets about waiting?
I don't regret anything in life. I wish I would have done it earlier just because, I would have loved to experience, my first relationships as a teenager or, going on your first date as a 25-year-old is awkward. So
how did that go?
It was, eggs. It was super awkward.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? I know I am being nosy, but what was
very nosy? No, I'm kidding.
Sorry. What was it like?
Yeah, it was weird. I like who pays, who opens the door, it's 2 men. So I was like, I've dated girls in the past, and I was raised to be a gentleman. So it was just, any awkward thing that you remember from dating as a teenager. You know, imagine doing that as a full, like a grown adult. So, you know, after the first few times it was fine, but I remember the first few times being so afraid and just being like, all right, what am I doing here?
Oh, and did you come out and just say, look, I feel a bit awkward about this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I'm still good friends with the guy that I first dated and actually going to get dinner tomorrow. So
it won't be as awkward.
No, he laughed at me. And I think, you know, gay men realize that, especially there's so many men that are closeted for such a long time. So they understand.
It's, you know, we're laughing about it now, but there's something terribly sad about that as well. And I know that I read in the book when you talk about your family, you say, by the time I started making plans to tell my family the truth, I was so stressed, anxious and fearful that I wasn't thinking rationally. Yeah. I was simply terrified because nothing in life scared me more than the possibility of my family distancing themselves from me if they ever knew the truth.
Yeah, and from a very conservative Catholic family, so, you know, the amount of things I heard when I was younger just really scared me, and the discussions that would take place in our house, you know, about marriage equality, same-sex marriage, and different things that were going on in the LGBT community, it just really scared me, and it was such a negative atmosphere in those ways. But, you know, when I came out to my family, they were so supportive and loving, and felt extremely just sad that they couldn't be there when I was going through all this stuff alone.
Who was the first footballer that you told, Robbie?
First footballer I told, I think it was Sasha Kleshin. He plays for Anderlecht. He's one of my best friends. We played in the Olympics together and on the national team together. Actually, my first cap was we played together. So I told him and his wife first.
Was that face-to-face?
Yeah.
And what was the reaction?
Actually, was it face-to-face? I don't remember. I don't think it actually was face-to-face. I think I sent him a letter and then he called me. For whatever reason, it was just easier for me to write letters to people or to write letters and then Skype with them after, just to get all my feelings down on paper. But he was just so supportive and like one of the first things he says, like, oh, just don't stop playing football.
And you've got to talk to us about you said what he said to Sarah about sort of deciding to retire and then coming back to play for LA Galaxy. And a lot of that was down to the reaction that you received and the sort of overwhelming support that you got. Yeah. Jason Collins, tell us a little bit about him and the interaction that you had with him. Yeah,
Jason's a good friend of mine. You know, we're both from California and you know, live near each other, so we see each other a lot. He's an absolutely amazing guy that was very courageous and, you know, came out and played in the NBA and has made a huge impact on people's lives. And, you know, we've become good friends because obviously we share this experience and talking to each other about, you know, going back into the locker room after coming out. And, you know, so he's really helped me.
What is that like?
What was scary.
That like for both of you?
It's just scary. You know, we both left the locker room as closet athletes, and then you go back in and you're just worried how people are going to react. And so for me, I remember like I hit up one of my buddies who played for the Galaxy, Landon Donovan, and he's been there forever. And I was just like, you know, what should I expect? Like, what's the atmosphere going to be like? And so we just talked about it. But it's really scary, you know, because you remember the locker room being one way. You remember, you know, all the things that you heard. And I remember when I told my agent, I was like, I would be crazy to put myself back in that atmosphere.
Macho.
Yeah, that pack mentality, all the banter that goes around. It's just very insensitive to people. And so I went back, and it was just the opposite. And people were just very supportive and just treated me like, you know, one of the guys. But you know, I don't know, just I guess smarter banter. I don't know if that's even smart banter, I guess.
Do you think that therefore, in some ways, what you've done has actually changed the whole dynamic of the dressing room?
Well, definitely our dressing room. You know,
are people happy about that? Do you think?
I don't know. I've never talked to them about that. You know, my teammates, I know at the Galaxy we just won a championship, and after they would come and tell me how proud they are, and different guys reading my book, you know, just, you know, talked to me about that, and just, you know, have said they love having me as a teammate. So I know that I've changed the atmosphere in our locker room, and Jason has in his when he was in the NBA. But you know, I'm not in another locker room, so I can't speak for any of that stuff.
Robbie, does it come down to even sort of topic of conversation? So might there be a what you would consider, I suppose, a normal dressing room or locker room conversation going on, and they might glance across and say, "Oh, we can't talk about that. Robbie's here." Is it like that?
No,
sometimes?
It's not like that at all. I mean, it's or at least I don't feel that way. And I was actually worried about that going back. I thought, you know, there might be a few things that slip, or people want to talk about things, and it'd be like super awkward because I'm there. But you know, it's not like that at all. It's just totally normal, and you know, I guess when you're present, you know, and people have to, I don't know, they're just more aware of what's going on around them. And I know, again, a lot of the guys have read the book and have read about my story, and I've played with a lot of these guys throughout the years with and against them. So I think just learning from this experience, when you have someone that is so close to you that has struggled, I think it just turns on a light bulb for you.
You're listening to Robbie Rogers on 5 Live, the former Leeds United player now for LA Galaxy. Robbie, I just wanted to ask you about that acceptance that you've got in the locker room with LA Galaxy. Mm-hmm. Do you think that would have been the same at Leeds?
I think so, yeah.
Do you?
I heard back from all of my teammates at Leeds, and they were just very supportive and like apologetic if they said anything. So I do think so. I think I would have had that support, but it took me, I had to come out and retire and then go back to football for me to like really have the courage to do all that stuff, and also to realize that these guys aren't really homophobic, but just part of that packed mentality in locker rooms where people just say things they don't mean. Where
do you think football is now, Robbie, in compared to where it was? Let's say start with 5 years, possibly 10 years ago.
It's changed. It's changed a lot. I think the atmosphere is much different. Guys are more sensitive to a number of things, not as sexist or racist or homophobic. But there's still a big problem. Obviously there's no other out footballers, so a lot of footballers still don't feel comfortable in that setting. And the only way really to move it along, especially more quickly, is for guys to come out. So it's so difficult to move it along without guys taking that step.
Got lots of questions coming in for you,
Okay.
Robbie, on 85058. Quite a few people going down this route saying, do you foresee a time, Robbie, where we'll talk about you being an MLS Cup winner and the things you've achieved in the sport, rather than introducing you as openly gay footballer Robbie Rogers?
I hope so. I hope it just becomes a point where people just don't talk about it, because I love playing football, and I've worked my butt off to become a good footballer, So, I'm gay. That's who I am. That's how I was created. But football is something that I've had to work extremely hard at.
And one day we will get to that point, won't we? But that's kind of the whole reason that you've written this book, is to help get people to that point.
Exactly. I realize that it's an issue until it's not an issue anymore.
Is it different in the States, Robbie, to how it is here? I mean, Robbie Keane, I think, had said, hadn't he?
Robbie talked about it.
Yeah, exactly. And is it you yourself said that football culture in the UK is a bit behind?
It's a little bit more. All the locker rooms I was in the US, in Holland, and England, were all, homophobic. But for whatever reason, the football culture here is just a little bit more behind, and you hear about racism and homophobia and at different clubs, and I don't know why that is. It's such an amazing place with such like one of the best leagues in the world, but it's like I don't know if it's the history and tradition and the stereotype of being a footballer and what that all means. It's just behind. What needs to make the difference then, Robbie, for you? Is it individuals? Is it governing bodies? Is it clubs? Is it fans? What would make the biggest influence? It's a combination. The biggest difference is when guys actually come out, but you have to create an environment first for guys to feel comfortable. So, the FA hopefully can work it a way where, I don't know if they can have therapists or different people that can speak with players and can be totally anonymous about everything. But, when I was younger and I was so closeted that I was, afraid to speak to anyone. And it really just took a lot of alone time and time to think about, who I was to come to terms with and then to make that step. So it sucks that it's so difficult to change a culture, because it really is just going to be about guys coming out while they're playing. But you have to at least try to create an environment that is positive for when they do come out. Do you know players playing in England right now that are gay and haven't come out? I don't know any footballers. I know American NFL players, I know basketball players, I know baseball players in the US, but I don't know any players like soccer or football players anywhere. No. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because Rio Ferdinand, we spoke to about this as well earlier in the year, and he was just talking about that unwillingness so far of people to come forward. What would have to change here, Robbie? Do you think that the FA, do you think the authorities do enough to promote just a more level playing field? I don't know. I guess the answer is I don't know what the FA does really for that kind of stuff. So, I don't play here anymore. I'm not quite sure, so maybe I'm not the right person to answer that. But I think they need to somehow create like a panel or a group of players that can go around to clubs and just speak about different issues, not just homophobia, but racism and sexism and other mental health issues. That's a big deal in sports in general. So, they need to maybe be a little bit more active in each club where guys feel comfortable to possibly go and speak with them. But again, I'm not playing in England anymore, so I don't want to badmouth the FA.
No, I totally understand that, Robbie. It's a point, isn't it, that John Amici has made as well on 5 Live and various other outlets as well, the former NBA player.
Yeah.
He's said that the thing about football is it's such a powerful global sport that has so many devotees. It can make a real difference.
Oh, it can make a huge difference. And our last role models, especially in the United States, are the athletes. As dumb as that is, because athletes are just people like us, and definitely have the same kind of problems. But so many people around the world look up to the athletes, and from a very young age. So the power that they have and to be positive role models is enormous. But it's just it's tough for me. I don't know. It's tough for me to see or to give that power to them, because again, the sports world is so far behind.
We'd like to talk to you about football as well, if that's all right. Actually playing football, is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Would you ever come back to England, either at Leeds or another club?
Definitely. At this moment in my career, I just signed a new contract with the Galaxy, and I'm really enjoying myself. I think we have a great team. Obviously, just won the championship and everything. So at the moment, no, but I would definitely do that.
Give us an insight into where football is in your eyes in America at the moment, because we all watch the World Cup as well as America watched the World Cup as well, Robbie.
Did everybody in America watch the World Cup?
I think every single person in America watched the World Cup.
But I was in Brazil, and there were 50,000 Americans there just supporting their team and watching other games as well. Do you think there has been a change over this summer?
I think there's been a change over the past 10 years. It's just amazing how much the league has grown, and there's going to be a new team in New York this next year. And there's already the team, the New York Red Bull, and then there's a new team in LA in a few years, which will be competing against us. And Las Vegas just approved a stadium, and it's crazy how much it's grown. The attendance now is higher than the NBA and the NHL, and it's just growing every year. So
annoyingly, the Americans were pretty good at it right from the start.
I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I remember seeing Casey Keller, wasn't he, the goalkeeper the first
year? Our goalkeepers are always good.
He was basically doing it on his own, though, wasn't he?
Yes, our goalkeepers, Tim Howard, Brad Friedel, Casey Keller, all those guys are Brad Guzan, all those guys are amazing.
I remember watching that with my mum. I can't remember, was that 10 years ago now? And just thinking, look at them. They're going to be absolutely stunningly good. How annoying.
I know. Well, I think the Americans, have the spirit where we think we can beat anyone. And even when our team wasn't that great this World Cup, we still got out of our group and still competed with the best, So even though we're not as good as you guys, we just still have that belief.
I wouldn't go that far, Robbie.
Well, talent-wise, you guys are, just so enormously talented, and we don't compete with that. But the one thing that I think that's different is the United States, we don't believe that we're going to lose. And to the last second, we really believe that we can be as good as anyone.
The interesting change is, again, spotting this being in Brazil, for the first time ESPN sent their main news anchors to a World Cup. So that tells you it's significant.
You,
and then all the other journalists, but journalists from countries like Brazil and Argentina and the big footballing nations, Spain and Germany, they're all slightly fearful that 10 years down the line, Robbie, because of this generation of young kids who are playing football, obsessed with football, and almost changing a little bit of the sporting culture in America, it's when they start playing football and getting into the national side, that's when America has the potential to take over the world.
And our population is up there. So, soccer is like the cool sport to support. You see in Seattle and Portland, it's every game is sold out, and the season tickets are there's a waiting list for them. And kids under 15, it's the number one sport played in the United States. So it's just a matter of time. I'm sorry to say to everyone in the NHL and the NFL and the MLB, and it's just a matter of time before soccer becomes the number one sport, and where we're just producing talents like you guys, or Argentina, Brazil, because the athleticism is there, and the infrastructure is starting to get there, and obviously with the financial backing of companies like Nike and Adidas and other companies like that have such a strong presence in the United States. It's going to take some time, but it's a matter of time before the league and the team is one of the best.
Is it still sneered at all by sort of people? No, not at all.
No, not at all.
It's totally
anymore.
accepted now.
Yeah, totally accepted now.
By all journalists and everything as well.
Yeah, I think so, or at least all the ones that I speak with.
But there is that level of controversy as well, isn't there? Because one thing that American likes, they do like an all-American hero, don't they? And one thing that
I love a story.
Yeah, one thing that Jurgen Klinsmann was doing during the World Cup and says he will continue to do is sort of bringing in those players who are German with an American grandmother or whatever it might be, and trying to assemble a team. There might not be that all-American, but he's got the best players in there.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I don't know if that's the best way to be successful, but I think it would be. There's so much pressure in being a head coach of a national team, and I can't even pretend to know what that's like. But I know that the teams that have been successful in the past in the U.S. have been teams that have been like a good mixture of guys that play abroad and guys that play in the MLS. So we'll see how things change, but I know that the MLS is getting much stronger. And the last World Cup, there was tons of guys from the MLS.
We've spoken a lot about, and I'm sure you're asked many questions about governing bodies. We've asked you them today as well. When it comes to the issue that you normally talk about, I've got to ask you about what FIFA are doing at the moment, because the US lost out in the bidding for the 2022 World Cup to Qatar. So most people expected it to be the US, didn't they? And Qatar got it. And then we've had all that speculation, all that controversy around about the bidding for Qatar. Do you think that FIFA were foolish in a way not to capitalise on what we've just been talking about, on the popularity of the sport in the biggest sporting nation on earth?
I don't think that it should have just automatically gone to the US because of that. I think that there were many other choices than Qatar. I think the weather, I think the human rights issues in Qatar, I think there's a number of things that FIFA has kind of turn their backs to, which has really surprised me, especially being a gay man and knowing that there's a number of gay fans and other footballers that are struggling with this. So it's a sad, just a sad topic or issue that I'd love to discuss with people. But I don't think it really has anything to do with the US. I just think FIFA is just a bit behind. And again, FIFA is an organization that obviously runs football in the world, and they're having the women's World Cup on an artificial turf fields, which is extremely sexist. They would never let the men's do that. And dealing with racism and homophobia, it's absolutely insane to me that FIFA in 2014 has not grasped and realize what kind of change and what kind of power they have, and able to change things for the better.
Given what you've just said there, Robbie, and particularly the issue on human rights, do you think that the World Cup should be taken away from Qatar?
I don't know about that. I think that it needs to be discussed for sure. I think they need to have that discussion. They need to keep any kind of athlete safe.
Shouldn't they have done that beforehand? Surely that's a bidding process,
should have.
isn't it?
100%. They should have. Yes, I don't think that. Again, I don't think that it should have gone to Qatar at the beginning, but it's there now. And actually, I would love to be at that World Cup. I would love to be a openly gay man at that World Cup. And talking about my experience and talking about who I am, because that's how you change things. Again, you change things by being present and by changing people's minds. So, now they need to figure out how they're going to keep people safe and be accepting to everyone, because this is the World Cup. This isn't about FIFA and Qatar and about, what kind of money people be making. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I hope that they this time get it right.
That's 8 years away, Robbie. Do you really think that's possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I definitely think it is. I've seen how much has changed in the past 2 years since I've been out, so I think it's possible.
Since coming out, I suppose, Robbie, in some ways you are forever going to be known as the first American athlete to come out and play for a major sporting team. Are you comfortable with that?
To be honest, I don't even think about it.
It's all done now.
It's all done. When I'm in the locker room and with the Galaxy, I just really feel like I'm the guy on the team and that we won a championship, and I honestly don't think about that.
Was the acceptance of your family probably the most important thing, and everything else just fell into place after that?
Exactly. For me, I love football, but I can live without football, and I can, live without the support of fans and other people. It was really my family that I needed support from, and again, I was ready to continue my life and do something else. So I'm extremely blessed to have a family and my friends and the way they supported me. I know that there's thousands and thousands of people around the world that don't have that kind of support.
Because you are the first, though, there is probably going to be, or probably already is, pressure on you, from gay groups that will want you to be a spokesperson. How do you feel about that?
Last year was a little overwhelming for me, and at times I got frustrated. I didn't feel like, who am I? I've just come out. Who am I to be giving kids advice on coming out? Was just a bit ridiculous. But this year, I'm very comfortable with just being myself and talking about my experience, and again, just going to my job every day and just doing what I do. So, I don't let people pressure me into doing more than I want to. And I've written a book now, and I play soccer, and I'm gay, so I think it's enough.
Robbie, listen, it's been fantastic to have you on Five Live.
Thank you very much.
We've had a great reaction on our text console here, people getting in contact. We've had one negative comment, right?
Okay.
Do you want me to read it to you? It says, can you please stop your guests from sniffing?
You've got a cold, haven't you? Bless you.
I'm from California. I'm used to this warm weather, and it's freezing here.
It's our climate. It can be blamed for everything, Robbie. Thanks a million for talking to us, Robbie Rogers.
Thanks so much.
That was Robbie Rogers from LA Galaxy.
And that wasn't the end of our guest fest on Thursday's programme, because Sebastian Street is an actor. He's now a screenwriter as well. He's got a new film coming out which is being edited at the moment. It's called Tomorrow. It deals with a subject which he's incredibly passionate about, isn't it?
Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder. 2 mates of his came back from Afghanistan after witnessing and being involved in horrific things. And from talking to them, he developed this story with another friend of his. And then it all gets a bit surreal, doesn't it? Because then the next thing you know...
Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio on a yacht, the boxing gloves from Raging Bull. He tells a good yarn, doesn't he, old Sebastian?
Can't wait to see the movie. Here he is. Hi, Sebastian.
Hello there. How are you doing, Sarah?
Very well. It's lovely to talk to you. You play an injured veteran called Tesla. Is the character based on people or one person that you've met, or is he fictitious?
He is a fictitious character, but he's based very much in the experiences of 2 people very strongly that I know and are close friends, and a lot of other injured veterans that I met when I spent some time at Tedworth House. I went on a couple of occasions, which is the headquarters for Help for Heroes and a rehabilitation centre for injured veterans. The 2 personal friends that I have, one was the sole survivor of a military helicopter crash. And as I was researching the script and the story with my co-writer Stuart Brennan, a lot came to light when I spoke to these 2 guys, and I'll talk about the other one in a minute. But the guy who was the sole survivor of the helicopter crash, he became a paraplegic, and he carried with him a hell of a lot of guilt, and I spent a lot of time with him. It took for him to have the trust to kind of confess a lot of this stuff to me. He carried so much guilt about being the only one that survived, and when he came back and he was going through rehabilitation, he shunned the kind of the care and the love of his girlfriend and tried to push her away, and his family and his friends who tried to rally around him because. In his words, he couldn't understand why they would want to be there for him.
It always amazes me how anybody can come through something like that. Not only losing all of your friends, but then you're paraplegic, you can't cope with anything, you have survivor's guilt. I mean, how did he come through it, Sebastian?
Well, he did come through it, and he has a great relationship with the same girl who stuck by him now. And he's actually, even though he had been in a wheelchair for a couple of years, is now starting to get a little bit of movement back and can get on his feet with some sticks. And the guy's just incredibly chipper and upbeat and very happy and healthy, and he sees that he's seen the light and he's there now. You know, he's a happy guy. The other friend I had, or have very much so, become very close through the development of this film, is a man who saw his best friend blow up when standing on an IED in Afghanistan, and he was pretty much next to him. And when I speak with this guy, you just... It's in his eyes. I can't really explain, but there's just so much depth of emotion there. And when he started talking to me about it, and this once again was over many, many sessions, he ended up saying to me, you know what, I've never been able to say this stuff to anyone, not my girlfriend, not my family, not my friends, because they just don't get it. And it's been such a cathartic experience working with you, because I know the details are things that you're really interested in, but I haven't been able to share that with other people because they don't know how to take it. They don't know how to handle it. And I think it was a very good experience for him. And we've become very, very close for that because of this.
Sebastian, there is something incredibly powerful, isn't there, in looking in someone's eyes who's been through something like that. To share from personal experience in Afghanistan, we spent quite a bit of time with the fire crews. And their job is they're in the fire station quite near the airfield. Mm-hmm. And when the alarm goes off, they go there, and it's their job to take whatever they see off the back of these helicopters. And these are injured troops who've been parts of their bodies have been blown off. Sometimes it's a torso with 2 arms and no legs. And horrific things. Indeed. And you don't even have to talk to them. You can see what they have seen just in the sorrow that's in their eyes sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the things that I very much hope the film will translate to the civilians. The soldiers all understand. They know that, anybody goes to war, they will see things. And if they don't see things, they will have friends, there are the other soldiers who will go through things, and they're there and they're close to it and they experience it. But when they come back home and they have to rejoin civilian life, they can't share that with other people. Other people don't have a clue. And it's very difficult for them to kind of exercise those demons with no one to talk to about it.
What do they think of the film?
Well, the film hasn't been it's being edited at the moment. One of the guy I spoke to who saw his friend die in front of him, he's actually in the film. And we filmed the Afghanistan scenes in Spain, a little village called Cox, which is by the mountains. It very much looks like Afghanistan. We had a great location, but he actually came out and he dressed up as one of our squaddies, and he advised us. He gave us kind of military advice on how everything should be perfect, and we made it all the way it should be. But he was there with us. He had a great time. He shared his experience. But at the moment where my character actually gets the injury, where the IED goes off, he had to walk off set because it was just all too real for him. But he came to me afterwards and he gave me a big hug and he had a little cry on my shoulder and he thanked me for making the film. So I just hope that I hope that a little bit of what he got from it can translate to other soldiers who have seen that or been through that. But more importantly, I hope that the community understand a little bit better that even though these guys aren't talking about it when they get home, that they've been through some things that we can never understand. And another thing that a lot of soldiers have said to me is that when they do come home, suddenly their world is filled with all this civilian stuff, people talking about soap operas, that their girlfriend said this, that their mum does that, all these little details that are so important to us. But to them, it's just not important at all. And they just find it all a bit mundane and everything's so unimportant that it's very hard for them to reconnect with our very cushy, nice lives here in England.
Why did you call the film Tomorrow?
Because it's a reference to the fact that you just have to keep on going to tomorrow and that everything can change. And even if it's bleak, and you can't see the light, that through chance meetings with people, and life just going on, there is always hope for tomorrow.
How did you come to write the script together with the actor Stuart Brennan?
Well, we were discussing the fact that at a certain budget level in the UK, there are only certain types of movies being made, and they have their place. But British gangster movies, I've been in a few, zombie movies. They sell, people like them, they enjoy them, and they have their place. But I looked back at my CV of 10 years, and I thought these just aren't the sort of movies that I want to be making all the time. So I spoke with him and we decided to make something that would mean something to someone, something that might be able to leave a bit of a legacy. And obviously I had those personal friends, and it was a story that I really wanted to tell.
And it not only will matter to lots and lots of soldiers and lots of people, but it also mattered to Martin Scorsese, yes. Who is executive producing it. Tell us about that entire journey with him.
Well, one of our very close friends, Stuart and I, is a guy called Dean Woodford, who's one of our producers. And he, for a very long time, had been friends with a lady called Martha Pinson, and they'd communicated over the internet and talked about film projects and writing and that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then she had written a script which she submitted to a film festival here, the British Independent Film Festival, and won the award for Best Screenplay. And she came over to collect it, and I kind of looked up who this woman was, and she was Martin Scorsese's script supervisor. I'm like, oh my God.
Get in.
Yeah, so she turned up at the festival, and Dean introduced us, and I said very humbly to her, look, you're Martin Scorsese's script supervisor. Stuart and I have written the first draft of our humble film, and would you mind just giving us some notes? And she was like, yeah, sure. Just email it to me, at which point I pulled it out of my back pocket and handed it to her.
Looking a little desperate.
Just prepared.
Yeah, hopefully take your chances where you can.
Exactly.
But had she just given us some notes, that would have been enough. But she rang us a few days later, having landed in JFK, and said, I just read your script on the plane, and I absolutely love it. And here are the magic words. Do you mind if I show it to Marty? Yeah. Right, so that would have been enough as well. Had it just landed on his desk and had our names on the front of it, that would have been enough. But a week later, we have another phone call from her. Marty absolutely loves it.
Oh, my
What are
word.
you doing with the film? We just want to make it. At which point, a week later, we get on very, very thick, beautiful, letter-headed Martin Scorsese paper from New York by FedEx, a letter from Martin Scorsese saying that he will help us make the film. We then fly out to Cannes, meet him on a yacht. Leo DiCaprio turns up, as you do.
You're just making it up now.
No, but I'm not. It is the stuff that dreams are made of, and constantly through this process, we are pinching ourselves. Then a few months later, we end up in New York at his house discussing our film. And we're sitting there in his front room with memorabilia from all his movies. The little animatronic doll from Hugo was sitting just behind him. Whenever he referenced making films in the UK, he kept pointing over his shoulder. I was like, what is he pointing at? And I look behind him, and there it is, sitting there. When I leave the house after the meeting, he shakes my hand, and he says, next time you come here, I'm going to take you to my bedroom to show you the boxing gloves from Raging Bull. I'm just like, oh, take me there now. But in discussions with him at his house, he started talking about casting, and this is where we kind of had to, just go for it. And we kind of said, yeah, all those actors that you're suggesting are brilliant, but this was supposed to be our Good Will Hunting. And I'm sure you know, obviously, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote that and then started it. Yeah. And we didn't plan to have Martin Scorsese. We didn't know that was going to happen. We were going to make this film for just, for a few £100, But he took that information away. He looked at our past work. He deliberated, and he said yes. And then we've surrounded ourselves with with an amazing cast, and it's just amazing. It is
it sounds like a complete fantasy story, but it did actually happen to you, Sebastian. Yeah. So what's his actual role as an exec producer? And we both work in television now and again, but what does an exec producer like Scorsese actually do?
What he actually does for us is we've had 30 drafts of the script, and every time we do a draft, we get another set of notes from Martin Scorsese, which are the best notes you could possibly imagine.
What does he say? What stuff does he? Give us an idea. What does he say?
Well, he doesn't tell you what to do. He asks you questions.
like what?
Well, just do you think it would be interesting if this happened? And some of them are red herrings, some of them aren't. But it just makes you think. He makes you think, and that's great. And obviously that process was shared with the director, who was Martha Pinson, who I mentioned earlier, his script supervisor. This was her feature directorial debut. And this woman, before Martin Scorsese, she's worked for him for 20 years. She worked with Oliver Stone before that, and Sidney Lumet before that, and sat next to all of these people for a career that spans a lifetime. There is nothing that this woman doesn't know about movies and making movies. And her working with Marty, the script got honed down to I think it's in a really, really good place. Now, in the post-production process, because we've finished the principal photography, the film has been shipped out to New York and is being edited over there under Marty's keen and watchful eye.
It's very exciting that you are all, with the exception of him, obviously, new to the roles that you're in some ways. I mean, you as a co-writer, acting and writing in something, Martha as a first-time director. Is there this sense, or was there a sense going through it that you were sort of embarking on something very new and special?
Well, okay, I've been acting for 15 years, and I've done a little writing here and there, but really, yes, this is my writing debut with Stuart. Stuart's written a lot more than me. Martha has directed films before, but never a feature. She's never had time. So she's got lots of awards for the short she's done, but she's always been working on Marty's films. And,
I see.
Yes, constantly through this entire process, it has been can somebody pinch me to make sure that I'm not sleeping, because this feels like a dream.
Sebastian, can I just briefly take you back to the yacht? You dropped the...
come on, Dad.
Go on, then.
You dropped the old Leonardo DiCaprio in there, right? So you're a man... You are a film star yourself, so you've got a bit of swagger.
We're talking leaks here, mate.
But I imagine you go in a room and people look around and say, "There's that Sebastian fellow. I've seen him in plenty of stuff."
Not quite.
What is it like when DiCaprio turns up on the yacht?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you exactly what it's like. Literally, the moment that DiCaprio turned up was the moment that Marty said to us, "Okay, let's go off the yacht and have some photographs done in front of the PR board." So we're walking off the yacht, Stuart and I and Martin Scorsese, to have some photos, and then Leo turns up in his 4-door chauffeur-driven Porsche, and the door opens, and suddenly all the photographers, they go over there. So we're left there just kind of like, okay, fair enough, it's Leo. And the yacht that we were on, right, with all of these people interested in the next film that Marty was making and talking about there, suddenly they go onto the yacht next door. Because they've secretly hired that one as well.
Oh, cheeky.
But that was all right. So we all joined them there. But lots of people who were on the other lot was a bit frustrated because they were all excited that Leo turned up, and then suddenly they went onto the yacht next door. But all very, very lovely people. It was such an amazing experience. And because of that, he said, look, we haven't had as much time as I wanted to have with you, so come out to my house in New York. So, silver lining.
Okay,
yeah.
is the answer to that. We're going to hold on to you, I believe, and we're going to talk to you a little bit after,
is that all right,
after
Sebastian?
3:00. Will you hang on for us a little bit?
We'd like to talk a bit more about the film.
No problem.
Have you organised with Scorsese to go back and see the boxing gloves, by the way?
Okay, well, we'll be hopefully when the first edit's done, I'm going to fly out to New York and have a look there. I might ask him about it again. It's not been a massive focal point, to be fair, but you're right. I should put it more to the forefront of my wishes.
I know this is a big moment for you, the film and everything, but the boxing gloves are, I think, more significant than you're giving them credit for.
Yeah, but the thing is, once I see the boxing gloves, then I'm going to want to have to put them on. And then when I'm wearing them, I'm going to want to hit someone. And that's not good. We can't do that.
Can we get back to the film, if that's okay with you?
I would like that very much.
I thought you might. There's a very important message in this film. For those just joining us, the film is called Tomorrow. It's about troops returning home from Afghanistan. And it deals with a massive issue, the issue of post-traumatic stress disorder. Yep. You've already told us how much research you did into what it was like mentally and physically for these troops to come home. How important is it that when this film comes out, that it gives across a message which not only you, but the guys who you spoke to, that it's real for them and it makes a difference and educates people who go and watch this film?
There are two groups here. There's the group who have been through it, the soldiers, the guys that truly understand it, and then there's the community. And as long as we do justice to the soldiers and they believe that we're showing a real picture of what it's really like, then I'm happy with that. But the community, the civilians, the people that don't understand it, from my point of view, I hope that our film will educate them on how these guys suffer in silence, so that there can be a little bit more understanding and more acceptance, because I think if the community understand it better, then the soldiers will feel more comfortable with being open and honest about it, because there are themes in the movie. There is a subplot, which I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to give everything away, but there is another character who is suffering with something, and it's nothing to do with the military angle. But the problem is the same for Tesla and this other character. That is that they are suffering in silence. They don't feel that there's anyone they can really talk to about. So they hide it inside, and it builds up, and it becomes a bigger beast than it necessarily needed to be. And if the community and people are more understanding, and they really knew what happened out there in Afghanistan and other places, and they know the things that these people go through, and it doesn't just have to apply to military stuff. It's anything that somebody goes through that is truly horrendous, that they carry with them, and they can't talk to people about it because it's not normal conversation. You can't just bring it up. You don't put it in you don't just blurt it out to people. If people were more understanding, then maybe it would be easier for these guys to get help, not just with the support groups, which are all there and do an amazing job, but through their friends and their family. They feel more comfortable being honest about it.
It's hard, though, isn't it? I mean, obviously your main focus is on the soldiers, but it's incredibly hard for families too to come to terms with these people coming home. They're like different people, and they treat them the same way because they're
all they know.
Exactly, and they look the same, but they're not the same.
Indeed, and I think that you've exactly hit the nail on the head there. If people can watch this film and they can see it and go, okay, now I perhaps understand a little bit better about why he's changed, and they can have an understanding of what somebody's been through, then potentially they can be more allowing. They can see the differences in someone's personality and put some sort of justification behind it. They can help themselves understand a little bit better, and that will make it easier for everyone.
Your two friends, Sebastian, did they was there commonality when they talked about what they found the most difficult to talk about in terms of relating to their friends and family when they got home?
They did, and this is a very common thing, not just with my two friends, but with all the guys that I spoke to at Tedworth House who were a bit rehabilitating. There is a thing that I've heard from all of them, and that is when you are out there, you aren't fighting for the cause, even though you are. You're fighting for the guy standing to your left and the guy standing to your right. You're a team, and in the moment, all you care about is protecting your brothers and sisters, the guys who are there fighting with you. Now, if you get injured, then you go home, back to civilian life after being rehabilitated, and suddenly your family, and when I say family, I mean your brothers and sisters you were fighting with, because they become your family in such a heightened situation. They're not there anymore. And they're the only guys that understand. And suddenly your real family, your blood family, or your friends, they don't really understand, so you can't talk to them about it. So people go inwards and into their shells and they try and act like normal people. But what they've been through isn't normal.
What can families do? I mean, it's just so hard. What can they do? Do you listen? Do you try and engage? Or what do you do?
I believe you listen and you make it a comfortable and safe environment to share information which wouldn't normally be easy to share. There is no solution. You have to let these people go through it. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist.
No.
I'm not. So this is just my opinion. But
got strong experience.
But one of the guys I just spoke to, who his friend died in front of him. Like I said earlier, he felt it a very cathartic experience to be able to share that with me, and we've become so close because of that. Now, if families could sit and listen, and friends could sit and listen, and these people could feel comfortable speaking about these things, you don't need to say anything, but somebody can just get that off their chest. That's my opinion, but like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist. So,
Sebastian, how has this changed you as a man, do you think?
Oh, this has very much changed me as a man. I feel I've grown a lot during this process, and I empathise and sympathise very much more strongly with what's going on. And these people that go through these experiences, they deserve so much of our respect and so much of our time. And I don't think that the community or society really gives them enough of that.
You might not want to answer this because you might be totally apolitical, but what about the fact of being out there in the first place?
Well, these soldiers are going out there and doing what our government tells them to do. And we have to respect that they are not doing something they necessarily want to do. They're doing a job for us, so we don't have to do it. What the government decides to do is up to the government. I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah, but you don't sound too happy about it, it's fair to say.
Well, it's a very difficult scenario, deciding whether you're going to go out and put our men and women in the line of fire, isn't it?
That's it, and I know you've got close friends, so
Indeed.
it makes things very, very different indeed. Anybody who's listened to this interview will now want to see this film. When are they going to get to see it?
Well, hopefully we're releasing at Cannes Film Festival, which is in May, and then very shortly afterwards it should be in the cinemas here.
Is that Cannes on a yacht again?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. And we're coming, aren't we?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah?
Definitely.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you and Leo are on the yacht,
Leo.
we'll go straight to you, okay?
Somehow I think he'll have another 3 or 4 yachts, so I'll just be on my little
one for me.
Yeah, that's it.
Sebastian, there's one other thing I wanted to ask you about.
Yes,
This charity, the One Less Gun, you have to explain that, because I think this is a fascinating part of the film, because the charity, basically, for every gun that appears in the film, they get rid of a gun, they destroy a gun. Is that right?
Let me explain. Okay, there's an artist called Carl McCrow, and he makes art out of machine guns and AK-47 cartridges. We feature in the film one of his pieces of art, which in that piece there are 3,600 AK-47 spent cartridges. Now, for every one of the cartridges he uses in his art, he destroys a gun. Right? So this piece of art, you know that 3,600 guns have been destroyed to make this piece of art, right? Which is a wonderful statement. Now, I've worked with him on a charity called One Less Gun, where in films now, and ours is the first gun-neutral film. For every gun that you see in our film, we have destroyed a gun. So I hope very much that this might be something that can carry on and other people could do in their films, because it's surprisingly not that expensive to do, and film budgets could very much afford to do it. And if we're going to be using guns for entertainment purposes, it would be very nice to actually make a difference which isn't glamorising them in the real world.
Sounds like a brilliant cause. Sebastian, thank you so much for coming on 5 Live and talking about the film. We wish you all the best with that.
Do you think we'll get to Cannes?
Do you know what? It's those things that you say on air and someone says, yeah, no problem, that'll happen, and then you never speak to them again. I don't think.
I'm going to direct message him right now.
I'm not sure you're ever going to get an invite to
Hi.
Cannes. Unless we do the show live from Cannes. But if we were live from Cannes, we'd be in a shed somewhere and they'd be off on some big power yacht. That's the way it works. You know how it works
On
in
the
radio.
pedalo.
It's never as glamorous as it sounds. We did get that charity was telling us about at the end, One Less Gun. We did get a couple of tweets. Grammatically, that is incorrect, isn't it? It should be one fewer gun.
Who gives a monkey as long as they're getting rid of guns?
That was the point I was going to make, yes.
Response.
Allow your grammatical hooks to be released on something as important
Chill out,
as that.
pedants.
Yes. One more guest to bring to you. We had a bonanza, and it's Haile Gebrselassie, 2-time Olympic champion. And what he's trying to do, he's part of this thing where trying to see if it's possible to run a marathon in under 2 hours. The current world record is 2 hours, 2 minutes and I think 57 seconds. Bearing in mind where that's come from, in 1896, when it was in the first time in the Olympics, it was 2 hours and 58 minutes. So it's almost dropped an hour in that time, over a century. But can they get it under 2 minutes?
How do you shave off those extra couple of minutes? Through essentially what they're looking at is diet or nutrition and science.
Listen to the great man.
Thanks for being on 5 Live, Haile. Is the 2-hour marathon possible?
Why not? It will be. The question is, just when. 5 years ago, I said to the media, I said to the people, when is it sub 2 hours? It's going to be 25 years, 20 years. But now, with this nutritionist, scientist, and all the program, all the arrangement, would be very soon.
So, Haile, what are you looking for? Are you looking for, like, one man who you can work with, give them the right nutrition?
Did you just say man?
Well,
I suppose it's going to be.
The man's I know we're all about equality these days, but the women are a little bit slow when it comes to the marathon.
It is going to be a man. I can accept
maybe
that.
me.
Yes, why not?
What? Do you think
Why not? Well, you cannot say, just this guy or that guy. But the things it looks like, just between Ethiopia and Kenya, East Africa, because the advantage is there. And telling just all those runners, they have already the potential, just to run the sub 2 hours. If the science help, if the things what we are here today, believe me, we'll see very soon.
In the marathons you've run in the past, Haile, and you're a former marathon world record holder, where is that 3 minutes or whatever it might be, where have you lost that 3 minutes? Where do you think you could gain that? Is it start, middle or end?
Well, it's not. I'm telling you, just from the beginning. I should have just this nutritionist and the best coach and the best shoes technology. Now the shoes I run and the shoes what I have now, it's very different. Believe me, that's 3 minutes. Just can off just a minute faster. All those things, just what you have. It's not actually these days. It's not only the performance of the athlete. It's just the performance of the technology, the performance of everything. If you ask me, just who was, just the true athlete, the true runner. One time when I Bikila ran in 1960 Rome Olympics at the barefoot. Now after that, just everybody, supporting by shoe companies, supporting by good course, supporting by good coach, and so on and so on. And now, the sub 2 hours, believe me, will happen very soon.
When do you think it will happen, Haile? Are we talking 5 years?
But at least we need to wait 5 years.
So this is going to be looking at what you eat and the way you train, obviously, as well, but the science behind it, Haile, as you were saying, as opposed to just all the things like shoes that have already been done. But on the other side of people trying to break records is always drug taking, isn't it? And how worried are you that in the quest to break records, athletes turn to drugs?
That's not good, I'm telling you. If people think about that one, we don't need to gathering here in Newcastle, just for the to improve, the performance of the human being. And a drug is something, just cheating. Means, just something without, the energy, without, just something to put in. This is what we're doing here. I think, I believe, just the athlete after this, they don't need to take, just any drugs, just if they have this kind of support, why they, of course, nowadays, a lot of bad things, just we hear, from a different side, that, that's, I think, not good. If they think, just for their future, let's do, just with the science, with the new inventing.
So finally, Haile, before we let you go, somebody you think in 5 years is going to break the 2 hour barrier. You've retired already once. Just confirm to us it's definitely not going to be you, yeah?
You say the old engine, if you put him, just more speed, maybe the engine can break, and but the new engine can do much better than the old one. Well, I wish, whatever it is, just I want to help, just the new engine. The new guys, just to break, this thing.
Haile, thanks so much for talking to us on 5 Live.
Thank you very much.
And that's it.
Yes, goodbye. Have a lovely Christmas.
Have a lovely Christmas, and thanks for having us.
Just a reminder, I'm not having too much time off. I will be working. But,
I'm
Lady
having
Brett,
2 weeks with the bambino.
Well, you go and enjoy yourself.
Thank you,
and when we're back, Monday the something of January.
Monday the 5th of January.
That's it.
Written in my diary.
Right. We shall see you then. Don't forget, Colin and Sam will be on Afternoon Edition next week. They'll be back on Monday from 1 o'clock. Enjoy your lovely Christmassy time, and we shall see you in 2015.
Bye-bye.
On digital and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
bbc.co.uk/5live.